Hello again, this is Pastor Tim coming to you from Ben and Lomita United Methodist Churches, doing our ministry in Central Texas among the small communities of our area. We have been bringing you the story of the Bible because we feel that the Bible is the anchor on which we can remain stable in an unsteady world. It's a solid foundation that keeps us from going adrift in a variety of cultural opinions and cultural trends. It always holds us to the experience of God. We have been doing Genesis. We talked about creation in the last podcast. We got through the 6 days and talked about how God created human beings. Now we come to the 7th day, which is on the second chapter of Genesis. It's important to remember, I think, that the Bible didn't come with numbers. It came just as a narrative written down especially in the Old Testament in Hebrew, which at first didn't even have any punctuations. It didn't have any vowels in it, so you had to just know what you were reading to be able to read it. So we, at some point, we decided we needed to help find places we needed to have numbers of chapters and verses. It didn't always correspond with the story. Actually, Genesis 1 continues to Genesis 2:4 as the first creation story, and the 7th day, the Sabbath, is part of that story. So we're continuing from chapter 1. On this day, 7th day, God rested. That may sound like a curious idea, the idea that God gets tired, that God has to rest. I sure hope God doesn't rest, take a day off, because we would be in trouble if God did. So it's not so much that God rested, as that God needed to set example for human beings. At the very first, it was not good for human beings to work 7 days a week, to expend all their energy all the time. There needed to be a time of rest, and I think that's the example we have. It's the example that some people still don't follow today. They don't take a day of rest. They go all the time. But we need a time to rest and get ready energize ourselves for the other 6 days. Now, the 7th day is actually, the Sabbath day is a characteristic of the Jewish faith. It did several things. One of the things it did is identify the practices of these the Sabbath keeping as being a Jewish characteristic. Other people in other countries and even their neighbors would not follow the Sabbath. They would work all 7 days, or maybe rest at random. But when on the 7th day came around, people knew that they were Jewish, that they followed Yahweh, that they believed that there was the one true God that created the universe, and that they were related to that one true God. So it's a matter of identity as much as circumcision was. It was how you could tell somebody was Jewish by the days that they rested. It was also a good day to have conversation with your family, to talk with one another, to get to know each other, to spend time besides working and build a relationship. It was a time in which there were no masters and slaves. There was no employer and employee. Everyone was equal because you were all resting just the same. So there was no status difference between people. You just rested together. It was a time to reflect and worship also. It was a time to remember that God created the humankind, and that we needed to remember that and to touch base with that which was holy. So the Sabbath served for many purposes. Sabbath keeping is a good practice today. We don't do that much anymore. It used to be that Sunday was our Sabbath, that we had businesses closed and people didn't go places and didn't do things. But that's all been a thing of the past. Little League and soccer, youth soccer practice, play games on Sunday morning. All sorts of things go on. Football, among many things, that goes on that gives us, distracts us from the Sabbath. I think it's good just to spend some time doing nothing and remembering who you are and where you came from and reflecting on what God has given you, being grateful. So I think that's a good thing to do. When God took a day of rest, He was telling us to take a day of rest and to do those things on the Sabbath. So that describes the Sabbath day. We'll get into a second creation story in the next video. Until then, I'll see you later.